Today, I would like to take you through a process that many can find intimidating, and that is creating water features using casting resin. The first step is to first, clear out anything underneath the protector where the resin will be placed, and put newspapers down. Resin can find any possible hole and drip through it. So I don't know exactly if the bed is completely sealed. More likely, it will drip. For me, it might actually drip underneath the culvert underneath the railroad tracks. Also, it's good to put up, some sort of dam across if the water's feature reaches the edge of the layout like this one does, just prevent anything from water falling off the side of the layout. Next, it'll become time to actually prepare the resin. So the casting resin comes in two parts. So both there'll be a resin like this, and a hardener. So this stuff is pretty inert by itself, but it's only when it's mixed we actually create the finished casting resin that we'll need to work with. The important thing with the casting resin is that we use equal size containers. Most people use the graduated containers. I just have two equal size containers. When I put some markings in there so I know exactly how high, because you want to make sure that you put the exact same amount of hardener and resin to each other on a 1-to-1 ratio. Next, you need to have an appropriate mixing can. Again, I found I have this spray can, top here. From the instructions, the important thing is to have something with smooth sides and a flat bottom, which this does. You don't want a lot of edges and ridges you might find in a regular can or something like that, because you can't get in there with the stirring. Second, for the stirring, is I just got a piece of styrene here. Important here, you want something flat sides, flat bottom, so I can get all of the edges around as necessary. So with the first of this, and for this particular thing, I'm also going to use some casting resin dyes here, some brown and some green, to dye this. So first, I'm going to pour into one here. I'm going to fill up the hardener. It's really good here. It's really probably to kind of overestimate how much resin you're going to need, mainly because it's going to be difficult to get another small pour in again. There we got the exact amount together. And then we're just going to do is we're going to pour these guys together. And I had gotten previous to the appropriate is to use a couple drops of brown to 1 drop of green. And now we have to stir thoroughly. And supposedly you have close to about 30 minutes of working time here. The longer, the warmer it is, the shorter the time. But ideally, they say we should pour this between like 60 and 80 degrees. Right now, it's a little over about 70 degrees in here, so it's a good amount of time. Okay, once we've gotten about a couple of minutes of good strong mixing, we can pour it in. We don't really want to pour more than about 1/8 of an inch or so in here at once, just because it will tend to it'll be a little bit too thick. So we just want to, this stuff will tend to find its own level. So and see the color of the mix we got here. It makes it look just like a little bit of brackish green material. Stuff just oozes out like anything. And this resin will tend to what it'll tend to do is to it'll tend to creep up the side of scenery and things. So we just want to make sure that everything you need is kind of covered in there. And usually we'll have to is when this dries eventually we'll have to touch up the banks eventually. All right, everything looks like that is covered well as far as we can see. I don't necessarily need to get the water all the way through the culvert and everything. I just need to see it on here on this side and here enough so you can't see the water ending on this side. So for now, then we have this. Now we pretty much have to wait potentially for a couple days, for it to harden. However, when we gets closer in here, where there's potentially to see any bubbles, I'll have to go through here and kind of pop any bubbles that you see that they may see. Since this is kind of looks like kind of a green there, I can I can add different effects or touch up the ground cover. But you see, all we have to wait for it to dry and see, and we'll see in a couple of days see how this turned out. Okay, it has been about 24 hours since I took the last since I poured the uh, stream, and we'll see. And you can see here it did actually leak, and I did actually had to while I was seeing was dripping, I actually had to take some masking tape and plug up underneath. It was actually leaking on the backside of the culvert as I kind of expected. So it actually leaked, and so it's good that we put the newspaper down. One thing is a good test here. The remaining part that hardened in the container here. This here last night was nice and hard and smooth, things like that. So this means this is actually you can do this. That's a pretty good affirmation that the streams actually turn out well. If this was still tacky or not mixed at all, a day later, probably means you did not mix enough, and therefore you're probably going to have problems. And here, even though as it was, I took off the styrene here. The resin did not at all stick to the styrene that was here, but it's still, you can see, still poured down here. In fact, before I took this picture, I had a little bit of a rind here that was stuck under here that was glommed down, so I had to cut that off with a hacksaw. And then here, I'll have to just end up repainting my fascia here. In retrospect, I painted this fascia way too early. As you can see, there's paint in here, and there's static grass and plaster and things like that. And I got some black paint. I'll repaint this. But it actually, did complete here. It's nice and smooth surface, and it's about a little bit, 1/16 of an inch. Since it's dry now, about 24 hours in, this would be the time that you would also, if you wanted to pour a second layer in, you could do it if you prefer more depth of flow. But here, I'm going for a kind of a summer type stream, low stream levels. So therefore, this is sufficient. Part here is still remaining left to go. If you notice here, the material kind of wicked up the slope in places here and wicked up into the bushes and things like that on the thing here, and then it happened a couple places on the slope. So the next step here is going to be to rework, put some ground foam and things like that to help cover up the places where the material wicked up into into the scenery, which is that's a common issue that you will have to deal with. And here you can see the resin did actually follow its own level and actually went from one side to the other side of the culvert. So the culvert is actually there's water all the way through it. Okay. Now it took a little bit of time here, and retouched up the sides of the embankment. I added a bit more tufts in here to represent some of the kind of the water loving grass, and then added some of these brambles here going down the slope of the culvert here to help cover up where it wicked up into those other bushes, things like that, to get more greenery or be likelihood. And then I did the same back over here. You can see I added a bit more overhanging brambles. Lucky on this side here, we already had in such a way that the brambles overhung the bank, so there wasn't necessarily a lot of really touch-up. But over here is a bit more obvious, so I added some more tufts and brambles here. So it really adds a lot. These were used here were these Paco scene static grass clumps. So these clamps. Cyflor and other folks make these. Are really nice for making clumps, bushes, whether it be crabgrass or water grass or things like that. And also in addition, the bramble stuff is made from Heki. The advantage of this is a very kind of a fiber, but it's very stretchable, kind of like stiff like this. So I use this. You can see in multiple places on here to represent all kinds of climbing vines, blackberry bushes, and other types of vines and the brambles that you would commonly see as a ground cover in wooded areas. So here's a couple extra techniques. Some of these newer modern senior products add an extra bit of dimension to your scenery beyond thinking of just like things like more simpler materials such as ground foam. So that about wraps it up. So if hopefully this video here helped you make it seem a bit easier for doing water features like this, and then you can have something that you can enjoy for a long time to come. And thank you for watching.